Hello everybody and welcome to another tutorial in camera and lens repair. And this time I will actually show what's the difference. I will re-grease my old Pentax Asahi Auto-Takumar. It's a 3.5 and a 35 lens, which I will like to re-grease. And for that I will actually use three different helicoid grease, and it will be a comparison between three different helicoid grease, which will be those here, the Helimax XP optical instrument and helicoid grease, and it should be something like an LGI and grade 1. Well, there may be different kind of grade, but and the other two, it will be the grade 30 from Japan Hobby Tool, and the last one will be the grade 10, also from Japan Hobby Tool. They work different, those helicoid grease, but let's jump into it. Now, we need some tools, just a few, in a way. We will need a 1.8 millimeters flathead screwdriver, and we will need a 1 millimeter flathead screwdriver, a tiny one, a tool to make some scratch, which I like to use, dentist tool, and a lens tool. I know it's not a lens tool, it's a compass, but it works really good since I have grinded the pointy ends. A tweezer will also be very handy, and we need something to actually a brush to clean the helicoids, which I use a makeup brush, which you can get many shops. Some cotton buds I will in this case use to actually apply the different greases, but of course I need to make a cleaning of the first go with taking away the old grease, and then apply new one, which I will start with this Helimax XP, and then clean again, then the grade 30 gray, and then clean the helicoids again, and last I will use the grade 10 for this. So I have to take apart this lens 4 times, but let's see what's happened. Oh, I forgot. We will also use the famous rubber tool from from Japan Hobby Tool, the cones, which is really good for working with lenses. Now, then we will take it apart. It's not that hard to take apart. It's a screw mount, 42 millimeter, and it is actually, I like the performance of this old lens. It's not that much coated, so it's good for actually infrared photos with my digital camera. Now let's get into it, and we will simply start by taking off the front here, turn it counterclockwise, and for that I will simply add the full sets here to unscrew it. It should not sit that hard, way it could be in your lens, simply by unscrew it. So that's it. Then we need to take off the focusing ring, but we need to actually make some marks somewhere. I already set a lot of marks here. We need to, just to make sure you put the lens correct back in again. So set a mark here. It should be with the infinity in line with the index mark here. And also set a mark here, so you actually know where this, when everything sets in on infinity, it will be in line here, just to make sure it's correct assembled. Now, I will simply take out the lens assembly because it will make it a lot easier to work. But so I use my compass here. You could, if you have a lens tool, of course it's good. But I work this is the way I work. Before we take it apart, set the aperture ring to 22, which will be something like this. So the aperture is fully closed. Then unscrew the retaining ring. So that's it. And when the retaining ring says click, yeah, there. And now we can simply take out the whole lens assembly by pushing on the back here. So out with that. We can also take off the retaining ring itself. See, the aperture thingy here, this pin down here has to push on the side here, not between the two here. And yeah, there is a guide pin here, which will be this one. Oh, autofocus, yeah. Which will be this one. It's a guide pin that goes into the notch here, which is in line with the index mark. So apart with that. Now, the focusing ring we need to take off to get further into the next ring here, and then the aperture ring, and then we can take off, there are 3 screws around here, but we can take apart the two, the back part and the focusing part. Now the 3 screws here. So this is how it looks, nothing special. Just keep things so we know where it is. Now here we look into the focusing part of it, focusing helicoids. Now we also need to take off the depth of field ring here, which I will use a 1mm screwdriver, flathead. I tried with the 1.2mm, but it didn't, it is simply too big. So 1mm, just a few turns of the screwdriver, and it should be loose. There is no need for fully unscrew the screws. There should be a third one here, but well, in my lens there wasn't any. So take apart this and put it aside somewhere. Next we need to take out the aperture ring itself, and it can just be pulled off here. Remember, there are 2 notches here, one there and there, and it's for the screws, pins that actually go in to move the part of the aperture mechanic part, and there's another screw here. And it's simply impossible to put the ring on in wrong position because the two notches here are in different width. So all for that, and then we are actually going in to take out the whole focusing part from the from the back part. There are 3 screws, one there, there, and there. But before doing so, sorry, we simply need to make some marks. We set a mark here on the front of the, it will be the inner helicoid, and on the brass focusing ring, helicoid ring, and on the body of the the outer well, helicoid, and also here on the back where the 2 parts sits together, make a scratch. So when the lens is set to infinity, it will say something like this: set an infinity mark here, because those are the marks we will use as a reference when taking apart the helicoid. There are also other marks which I will show sooner. There is a stop screw here, this one, and it goes from one end to the other, of course, but it will prevent the focusing helicoid from coming apart. So our starting point will be when the lens focusing system is actually infinity. It will say is most collapsed. So we take off the 3 screws here. Now then we can just take it apart here in 2 pieces. This is the back part with the mount and part of the aperture moving mechanical part, and we end up with the focusing helicoid itself. So this is the assembly. Now before continue at all, we need to do some measure, and I actually wrote some notes here which will as a reference. So you see there are 2 guide pins here, one there and there. I give it them number 1 and 2, and I also set a mark here that says number 1, reference to the 1 key, and the other one number 2, which I set a mark here. So now I know where they should sit, so don't mix them. They could be different. But before taking apart anything, set it to infinity, and then we need to do some measures. We actually will measure the focus assembly from the front here to the very back here. How big is it? So it should be something like that, which is also the same as I have here. And I also use the measure here to measure the outer helicoid. It will say the brass ring to the very back. How long is it? Something like, it will say this here, and it should be that. And I'll also do the inner helicoid ring to the outer helicoid ring, which will be from the front here of the inner ring to the brass ring. And how long will it be? Something like, yeah, it should be something like 1.7 or so. Just measure it correct. Yeah, something like that. And it should be fine for now. And so now we can actually take it apart. It will say the two keys that need to be unscrewed, and then we can actually unscrew it and then clean the helicoid. So there, and the other one, something like that. So now, now I can take out the key, which have to sit where they was in the beginning. Out of those. And now I could actually take apart the inner helicoid. And my starting point is the infinity. And I also make some notes about it, because it's very important, since, well, I don't think there is a service manual for this. The inner helicoid ring, it will say this one here, has to turn a little over 1 1/4 turn until it comes off at 8 o'clock. In respect to the index, the infinity index mark here, this ring has to be turned counterclockwise, and I have my starting point here, so I turn it 1 and a little over 1/4, so it will be 1, and it would be something like over here. It will say from here all the way over to here. It will say it comes off here, where I set a mark here. So off for that. And then the other one, the outer helicoid, will turn a little over than 8.5 turn till off at around 4 o'clock, which will be around here. So it will turn clockwise. So, haha, of course, I need to unscrew this tiny screw, which will be the stop screw, and just doing like this, off that. And now from here 8 turns, it will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a little over, then it will come off around here. So, and this is how it looks. So now, ready to clean the helicoids. See you sooner. And now, after cleaning here, I will just put this notes a little away. Yeah, let's see if we can stay there. So we still have the notes here where we need it. Something like that. Now, so now the helicoids are actually clean, and then I will simply put them in again. And for the first time, I mean, not the first, but the first case will be the Helimax XP, which probably is good for something, but I just think it's too, well, in a way, too thick. Well, let's see what's happened. I will just add a slightly amount. I mean, the grease feels really buttery, but I don't think it will be the same when I use it on the fine thread here. Maybe it will work better on the more cross thread here for the inner helicoid. But let's just apply it on here on the outer helicoid here. But just it's not good for that to use cotton buds. So away with that. I will just take my fine brush here and add a little on the thread. So that should be much more than enough. And for that I will just put it in. Where is my mark? Is here. And then I have to find my off mark, which will be here. I set it here. My index mark is here, and all the way over to something like 4 o'clock. I have to find the thread here, and sometimes it can be a little challenge to put on the thread. It looks fine. Comes off, and then we work a little with the thread just to catch the threads here. That was the quarter, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that was actually fine. I mean, just one helical ring, it works a bit stiff. But let's see what goes when I add the next one. And again, I will just apply a little. Doesn't have to be much. That doesn't have to be a lot. Because when applied, I will put it in and then screw it out again and take away the rest of it, which will probably be way too much. So have to find my mark here and find where is my index mark here. This one here, and I have to get it. I get it off at around 8, as you can see here at 8 o'clock. the inner helicoid, which is this one, and it will turn a little over 1/4 turn. So I have to find the correct thread, something like that. Go over to there, and then it says click there. One have to fiddle a little. That was the 1/4 and 1 full turn. And then screw it out again just to spread the grease. And there is, yeah, a little too much in here. So I can just wipe away so it looks nice and fine. And then put it in again. I can also just take away the too much here. So then find the mark I set. There could be another mark which somebody set in the factory, like this one, but I just make my own mark so I know where they sit. And I have to find the off mark here. So work a little with the helicoid, and then 1/4 and a full turn. So do I actually ended up the correct place and the correct thread? Well, maybe not. Maybe I'm one thread ahead or back. It looks like there is too much. Let's see something. No, it's actually fine. Has to turn there. Yeah, it's correct. But I will just put in the key and see how it will go, and how good it, soft it will turn. I would like it to be soft and easy to turn, because use it for maybe some video or just photo. Okay, there are tiny screws there. It'll just be easier to use a tweezer. Just the other screw. Gently tighten the screws. Let's see how it actually works. Well, of course I have to put in both focusing key, to make it correct. If they are not sit there, it will make it a little different. And of course I have to loop the focusing key, which I didn't. So that's it. Of course they are also part of the moving in a way. So let's see. It's quite stiff. So maybe some people, they would like the focusing ring to be that stiff, but I think it's too much, in my opinion. So I will just take it apart again. Now cleaning with isopropyl alcohol, and for the next grease, which will be the grade 30 from Japan Hobby Tool. Now, after some cleaning, which looks fine again, I will just continue with the grade 30 from Japan Hobby Tool, which is really good, which is also a good, but not as thick as the Helimax. So let's see what goes on. So a brush and the helicoid grease, and then some helicoids. There is something in the lid which will be easier to just take with the brush, and I think I will just begin with the brass ring for the outer helicoid, which is a fine thread. You maybe can see it's it's much thinner than the actual XP grease, so I will just use a little, then put it on, and then do the make some movement and spread the grease. Doesn't have to be that perfect applied like this on this one. It will be spread anyway. And let's see, I have a mark here which I also have here, so I just need to find the correct thread. It will be something like over here where my off mark was, the outer helicoid, and the thread is quite fine, so you have to be very careful. This is aluminium, the other is brass, but it seems like the thread is going to be fine. So a half a turn almost up to the mark here, 7 and 8. It already feels much easier to turn. So let's put the in, just see how much is actually I need to wipe away. It can sometimes be the thing you have to do if there is too much grease. And it looks like there is not much, I mean, too much. But we can just wipe away on the edge here. So there's not too much. And then put it in again. Where did my mark go? Here. Find the thread. And you can see it doesn't really look like there is any grease on, but there are. So there. Okay, some attempts and it works. Well, no. Okay, it was fine. So you can just put it in. I know where it will end up. So there. And that's it there. And now the inner helicoid needs some, just a little amount. And that's it. Find the correct mark. And it should be something like over here at 8 o'clock. Then find the thread, a quarter turn, and then a full turn. Wow, it's really much better than the Helimax. And then we'll put in the 2 key. Also give it some little amount, not much. And let's just see what's going on already with one focusing, with one helicoid key, and it's much lighter than the Helimax XP. So I will just take it apart again. Final cleaning with isopropyl alcohol. So stay tuned. And now we continue with the last part of this little tutorial. And for this I will use the grade 10, which is the finest I have. Also from Japan Hobby Tool. Now, since I have cleaned the helicoids and their brush also, which is important, we can just continue with this really fine grease. So, I cannot Japanese, but I guess it's something like grade 10 or so. So, and there is something in the lid which I will use. And again I will start with the brass helicoid and the fine thread, and find the thread again, which was a little challenge before. So there, quarter turn here, and then we can just give it some movement. And since I did not add really much, I would guess it's fine for now. Then the outer helicoid, this helicoid. Now get my mark here. And I have my off mark here, which is 8 o'clock compared to my infinity, and it will be 1/4. Of course the other one should be a half turn of I was wrong, yeah, I know that. So this one will be here. Find the thread, take care of the aluminium thread. Yeah, there it is. And then a quarter turn, and then a full revolution. Just give it some movement, and we can just take it out again, see how good it was there. And you can see there's a little too much here on the edge here, which I will just wipe away. Then put it in again and say that's where the thread, it will say here. So quarter turn and then a full revolution up to my mark there. So it's there. Wow, it's really soft and nice. So now I can add in the 2 focusing helicoid key and I can actually just add a little. Say that's all fine. Wow. And the stop screw needs to come in too. So the Helimax is not really good for that lens. It could be it's better for something with plastic or something like that. I would guess so. Just take away this. So now it's all fine. Away with that, and we can just measure if everything is correct, just to see how good it was. So we measure something like, oh gosh, there it is, there, yeah. And it should be there. So the focusing assembly to infinity when it's as short as possible, the whole assembly. And we can just take the outer ring here, and it's, well, it's 1510, which I also have here. And then what's actually going on here, it should be the almost, yeah, 1.7 as, but, well, the 0.03, so it's okay. I mean, it's a correct thread. It can only sit that position. If not, this one should be way more in or way more out. And the brass ring should also be in a correct, in a wrong position. But now it's everything is okay. So we can just continue with the assemble. Where do we have a mark somewhere here? And I also have to find my infinity mark, which I set in the beginning. So it should be something like that. Find the screw, and we just will continue, hopefully. And comes in. Yeah, there it is. Just went wrong. So now there. So going backward a little with the screwdriver will make it more easier to find the correct thread for the screw, so you will not damage anything in this aluminium. So one could say, well, I will just buy a grade 10 grease for all my lenses. Well, yeah, but sometimes it may be too thin. If you want a lens for video and you want some resistance in a way, for example, if you have declicked a lens, you would probably need some, oh gosh, what's going on? You will probably need a more thicker grease. Okay, we take another screwdriver. So there. This is a 2mm screwdriver. So now, then we can add the aperture ring and put it on there. And maybe I also should just loop this ring with grade 10 just to make it more soft working. And where is the numbers here? And the 2 notches here. Add it. Yeah, so that's really good. It was not much, but it works really much better. Before it was a little stiff. So continue with the depth of field ring, and remember the small screws, so it should be there. It was a little off, so I have to put it down there. There has to be a little space between the aperture ring and the depth of field plate. So now it's correct. So then the focusing ring, set it to infinity, and then put on the focusing ring. So now we are back on track and can actually put in the lens assembly. Sorry. You see, there are, maybe you can see, there are a really thin spacer here. Well, there's actually 2 of them. They're really thin. Now there's also a bigger one. This is for might adjust the focus, so they could have a different thickness in your lens. So now one can put in the lens assembly. Remember the guide pin here will go in line with the index mark here all the way up to here. The aperture, which will be this one, if we look down here, this part here, which I look at down here, this one, it has to sit on this side of the lens. So set the aperture ring to 22 and simply put in the lens assembly. No matter what. Because the guide pin will sit in line with the index mark, which we have here. So it should be possible to just put it in. Now, here we are. And the aperture is also working if I push the button here. So I was correct. Now, in with the retaining ring that hold the lens assembly. And then here it is. Wow. Feels like something new. Then the front ring can be put in. Find the thread. Click. And then here we are. Tighten it gently with the rubber tool. And here we are back again with a newly re-greased and really good, really smooth and good. Even with rubber gloves I can actually turn it in a way. It was not possible with the Helimax or the grade 30 So I would say it's quite good. Yeah, doesn't matter. So it is. So hope you enjoyed the content about grease and can use the info. That's all for me. Bye bye.